Fuck. There we go.
What? Oh, okay.
I want to bone Lovecraft monsters very hard.
You're welcome, FTC. We made your job really easy.
Would you like to hear about our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ?
Would you like to hear about our Lord and Savior Satan?
Should I say the N-word so that he
No!
knows for sure?
No! Absolutely no to that. That doesn't help.
Noodles.
Okay.
I have to show you one of my favorite videos on YouTube. Top 5 words that rhyme with digger.
Oh my god.
Do you want to know what number 1 is?
Hold on there,
Epstein
Wolf.
didn't kill himself.
What?
Epstein doesn't kill himself.
God damn it.
That's top 1 word that rhymes with digger.
Wait, hold on there. Hold on there, Wolvicky. Anyway.
Yeah, fuck.
So, Llytic, what are we reading today?
We're doing more RPG horror stories. Now with 30% more mumbling.
Oh, boy.
Oh,
and
boy.
50% more interruptions.
And 100% I'm tired as fucking shit.
Who's shit?
All shit.
My shit? I think everyone's tired of my shit.
Yeah, it's really smelly,
I
dude.
mean, I wasn't going to say anything, but you kind of said it
depression.
first.
I've been reviewing your shits, and I gotta say, dude, you have not been eating healthy recently. You need to look into that.
Anyway, we're doing a series of stories by one Professor Tyler.
Mhm.
And this series is called Islands and Idiots, and it is quite possibly like the most what the fuck like D&D thing I've heard in a while.
I'm really interested to see this. Like,
Yeah, we're starting on chapter 1. I'll put a link to his profile in the description.
Mm-hmm.
Islands and Idiots, chapter 1, the town serial killer. Here's a story of a particularly insane campaign I ran in college. There are many separate horror stories within this campaign, so I'm going to write them as a series of chapters, each one focusing on a different horrible aspect. Naturally, I have to start with the party's literal serial killer.
Oh boy, always a good sign. Hey, just because this next line is just one line, can I read 2 lines until and then get to Zane's part, or like, how do y'all want to do that?
I mean, typically we do it to where if there is a full break, then that's the line.
Okay, got it. No. All right. The campaign starts in a small fishing village located within a chain of tropical islands. Let's meet our cast. An archipelago. Wait, that no is
Archipelago.
archipelago. There we go.
Archipelago?
Archipelago. What the
Archipelago, yeah, that's how you say it. Archipelago.
Well, that's
Pardon
not
my
what I
French.
said.
Bottles. Human wizard. He has 2 empty bottles that he constantly fills with random things. Seawater, hobgoblin blood, etc. Like he's playing a Zelda game. Oh. Otherwise, he's pretty unremarkable. His occupation is the town wizard.
Kevin. Half-orc barbarian, incredibly stupid. This player used to always play smart characters, wizards, high intelligence bards, etc., so he decided to intentionally make his character as dumb as possible. He still managed to be smarter than most of the party and ended up being the party's moral compass. He's the town idiot who people give food out of pity/fear of his immense strength.
I like Kevin already. Aquamanalus, half-elf ranger, basically a cross between Aquaman and Legolas. Oh, okay.
Best of 2 worlds.
Every character this player has ever played has had the same basic qualities. True neutral, didn't care about anyone or anything, liked to fish at every opportunity, had a backstory around fishing, and had a weird obsession with wanting to bang a mermaid.
I can relate to that last part.
Again, every character this guy has ever played was like this, and this one was no exception. He makes his living as a fisherman and avoids contact with the town at all costs. They are not mermaids, and therefore he doesn't want to talk to them.
You know, I'd say something about me not always playing the same character, but at the same time, I've only gotten to play 1.
Mm-hmm.
Same.
Give it some time. You'll get to play multiple.
No, technically you've gotten to play 3.
Oh, yeah.
4. Monster Hunter campaign.
I see. Fuck, sorry.
I believe it is...
Shorty McDoors is your line.
Shorty McDoords. Midget elf cleric, not halfling. Midget elf.
What?
The world happened to be in the middle of a race war between the smaller and larger races, so he thought he was being clever by being a very short elf that could pretend to be a halfling if need be. This both helps and hurts him later on in the campaign. He is paranoid that there is a hidden door nearby at all times and searches for hidden doors at every opportunity. Every time they enter a room, every time they reach an area, and every few minutes he'll try to search for hidden doors, being sure to remind me that elves get an automatic search check to find hidden doors. So great is this hidden door fixation that his girlfriend, through casually walking by while he's playing, knows the game only has the hidden doors game. He worships the god of thievery and making his living as a traveling con artist. Salvation is unsuspecting to selling salvation. To unsuspecting townsfolk.
There you go. You know, this actually... Okay, Shorty McDoor sounds like a character another one of my regular gaming groups people would make, because they always take terrible ideas and make it into a reality. Like, one of the things he made was a human barbarian who is a bodybuilder. So he always...
Like, I think I also got to do the terrible ideas thing too, honestly.
Yeah, but it's just dumb ideas with him. With yours, it's a lot more creative. But he had a human bodybuilder who was a human barbarian who was a bodybuilder, and he had a supply of oil that was readily on hand, not for anything except to oil up his muscles so he could flex. He had high charisma and high strength. That was about it.
Now I'm just imagining Colonel Armstrong.
Kind of like that, except less endearing and more posing.
So if Colonel Armstrong was a JoJo character.
Yes.
AKA not very endearing. Honestly, kind of a dick.
Depends on the JoJo character.
Most of them. Like, Muhammad Abdul is kind of an outlier.
I love Abdul. He's really cool.
Yes, he is a very nice man.
Yes, he is!
Murder hobo. Elf Rogue, the main antagonist of this chapter, he considers himself a ninja and dresses in a self-described ninja costume. But solid white. His general obsession is hiding in the shadows, which is made difficult by a solid white outfit. Every chance he gets, he announces that he hides in the shadows, even when there are no shadows to hide in, such as when he's in an open field in broad daylight. However, it's his other obsession that makes this a horror story. Oh, that obsession, what would his other obsession be? Murder. It's murder. The entire character motivation is based around killing people. He becomes an adventurer and joins the party for the sole reason that he wants to kill as many people as possible.
I mean, at least he's honest about it.
During character introduction, he introduces himself as the town serial killer and goes about how he's murdered 15 people in the town. The entire party, which is by no means good, is horrified. Also, this is a tiny village with only 40 people. So I tell him there's no way he could have killed that many people without the entire town being after him. He responds with, "Fine, I've killed 14 people." I have to explain to him that this isn't any better. We eventually reached the compromise that he was just getting started in this town, but had murdered many people in other towns. There's no reason for this, by the way. No delusions, no traumatic experience, no demanding evil god. He just kills people for the sake of killing them. Also, he specifies that his character is homeless, making him a literal murder hobo.
Oh boy, here I go killing again.
Here I go murdering again. Here I go killing. I don't know why. That character always gave me Scene Anders energy.
The adventure starts and the party rescues a prisoner of war from a group of soldiers. Murder Hobo takes great glee in killing the soldiers and tries to claim all of the loot because he killed the most enemies. Okay, this kind of person.
I don't think
Murder Hobo wants to kill the prisoner as well just because. Okay, you know what? If you're going to make a character who's just all about killing people, another stipulation would be, okay, you kill people and you don't care about loot because you're just there to kill people. Like, come on.
I don't know. Maybe you want a souvenir.
I mean, yes, but like not, I want the most loot.
In that case, why not just chop off some fingers? Knock out some teeth.
Yeah, that's another.
Cut off an ear.
Okay. Shorty agrees because he thinks everything is part of a wild conspiracy, but the rest of the party stops him. The next couple of sessions go by with Murder Hobo hiding in the shadows and complaining when anyone else gets a kill because he wanted to do it. Oh my god. On the third session, Murder Hobo is late. Aquamanalus has lost his trident. He left it behind while running away from a shark man and needed a melee weapon, so he borrowed Murder Hobo's sword. Murder Hobo eventually shows up, takes his sword back, and attempts to kill Aquamanalus for using it. The party just ignores him and moves on. During this same session, the party gets hired to recover a magic item stolen from a noble. They find out the thief was the noble's teenage daughter and try to talk her into giving the item back since they don't want to fight her. Just as she's about to hand it over, Murder Hobo, out of nowhere, tries to kill her. Fighting breaks out, and Murder Hobo proceeds to get his butt kicked by a teenage girl. He's beaten within an inch of his life, and Dan is knocked unconscious before Aquamanalus finally manages to knock her out. They bring the girl back to her father and get paid far less than what they would have if they had avoided a fight. Aquamanalus then immediately tries to flirt with her older sister. Not a mermaid, but she was good at singing, so that made her like a mermaid. She rejects him. Murder Hobo follows them in the shadows and says he would have murdered her if she had said yes to Aquamanalus because they don't deserve to be happy. Oh my God,
Sounds
this
like
person.
Ruru with extra steps.
You got your ass kicked by a child.
This sounds like a chaotic evil Ruru who has -1 intelligence. Like,
no, chaotic evil doesn't tend to be that. Okay, -3. Let's go with -3.
Mm-hmm.
Not minus.
Even when Ruru is looking for loot, she's not looking for any physical item. She's just like, the gold, give it here.
Yeah, she's just money hungry.
Ruru is actually likable, so
to quote Rick Ross, I got money on my mind.
Like this guy just doesn't. Murder Hobo in the story, he just doesn't sound likable. He just sounds annoying. Like,
I mean, like it's the whole thing. Like if you were to play a lizard folk, okay, you'd have a reason to murder Hobo.
Or
you
just
technically kind of justified.
Or just a character who's insane. Like, okay, killing things, that's fine if you want to do that. And again, like the whole loot thing, it's like, okay, if you want to kill people, just kill them and don't worry about the loot because that's what your character lives for. Make it a religion or something. Like, I don't know.
Why did you kill them? I was hungry.
Yeah.
I needed a snack.
Still want to make the Murder Hobo fairy.
That would be pretty funny, yeah.
I would give people a permission to put me in a jar every time I said something slightly aggressive towards people at the wrong time.
Mm-hmm.
Like in this situation. Yeah, out of character
yeah.
permission. So just be like, they're in that situation where they're trying to talk down the teenager, right? And I just be like, I prepare a fire spell. And people are just like, get the jar. Get the jar.
I don't know why I suddenly imagine like a murder hobo. What the fuck did you kill that beggar? I needed the food.
I needed the food. I was hungry.
A bit peckish. Oh god, I don't know why, but for some reason I just constantly imagine lizard folk with an Australian accent. I was a bit peckish. I was wandering the streets while you guys were at the tavern, and he was right there. So I thought, why didn't I just step into the alley for a bite? All went pretty well, all things considered. I mean, it's stupid, but I think it'd be hilarious to do.
Yeah.
Anyway.
The next several sessions are more of the same, with the rest of the party growing, becoming less and less tolerant to his antics. The tipping point comes when the party is battling a pack of zombies sent by a necromancer. Bottles, for some reason, decides to start grappling with a zombie. Murder Hobo decides to shoot the zombie with his bow. I tell him there's a chance he'll hit Bottles if he does this. Bottles and Shorty threaten to kill his character if he does this. There are also plenty of other zombies to attack, and Murder Hobo could just as easily attack the zombie with his sword instead and do more damage than with the bow. Naturally, he attacks with his bow, hits Bottles, very nearly killing him. He is completely unapologetic. Furious, Shorty decides it's time for Murder Hobo to die and cast Hold Person on him. Bottles and attempts to throw a zombie he's grappling at the helpless Murder Hobo and get a nat 20 to do so. Kevin objects to attempts to throw the zombie he's grappling at the helpless Murder Hobo and gets a nat 20. Oh no, I'm just killing a fellow party member and tries to stop him, but is on the other side of the battle and has to fight through several zombies first. Aquamanalus decides to start fishing. They are in a desert during combat and the party is killing each other, but he sits down and starts trying to fish in the sand so he doesn't have to get involved. Meanwhile, Murder Hobo repeatedly fails a stage to escape the spell and gets slowly chewed on by the zombie. He goes through all 5 stages of grief while he's stuck there. He refuses to believe that they're killing him. He gets angry, threatens to murder them with his next character. He apologizes and tries to plead with them. He gets depressed and starts questioning why he plays at all. And finally, he accepts it. Meanwhile, the necromancer is laughing hysterically as the party attacks each other.
Just imagining the necromancer like, wait, what?
This doesn't really sound like a horror story as much as it is just an insane story.
Well, yeah, it's less of an outright horror story and more just an insane story, because he even admits, like, I just kind of stuck with it to see where the fuck they were going to go with this. In the end, Kevin saves Murder Hobo from the zombie. Bottles and Shorty agree not to kill Murder Hobo. However, Murder Hobo decides that he wants a new character that the party doesn't hate. So he makes a lawful evil paladin I refer to as Blasphemy the Clown. He dresses in a clown suit and manages to violate his alignment by, in his own words, spreading chaos. But we'll cover that in another chapter. Before Murder Hobo leaves, he states that he wants to leave all his equipment and money in his inn room, and that his new character, who does not know the first or have any connection to him whatsoever, is going to, by pure coincidence, arrive in that same inn room and take everything. Obviously, I do not allow this. He tries to argue, but eventually gives up, and Murder Hobo rides off into the shadows of the sunset. His words here, never to be seen again. On to chapter 2.
All right, hang on.
Tom?
Yeah, give me a sec.
Rowboat.
Tom?
I'm on a boat. Everybody look at me while I'm rowing this boat.
Okay. Oh, crap. Oh, there we go. Here is the second chapter of my island-based D&D.
I was hoping you'd read the title.
Oh, Islands and Idiots, Chapter 2, the 200-mile-per-hour rowboat. Here is the second chapter of my island-based D&D horror experience. This chapter focuses on Party's beloved rowboat, which they insisted could travel at ludicrous speed.
How ludicrous are we talking?
We've gone plaid.
Oh, God.
References.
Beep boop lettuce.
Dane.
Recap of adventure.
The party consists of Bottles, human wizard, Aquamanelos, half-elf ranger who likes mermaids, Kevin, half-orc barbarian who's dumb but the morals party God damn it. But the party's moral compass, Shorty McDoors, the elf cleric who is very small and looks like a halfling, and Murder Hobo, elf rogue and subject to the first chapter. The land is in the middle of a race war between the smaller and larger races. First session, the party fights a group of gnomish soldiers. They take one prisoner, he'll be the subject of Chapter 3, and steal their boat. They ride off in that boat and have a wild adventure.
First, I should tell you about the boat. It was a simple, basic rowboat. It didn't have sails. They discussed naming it, but could never agree on what name to use. The point of the adventure is that they would sail around this island chain, receiving various quests. That's actually a really cool idea. I like that one.
It's not a bad idea. I want to do a nautical adventure at some point. Seems like it'd be fun.
What's a nautical adventure mean?
Adventure at sea.
Seafaring.
Yeah.
I already told you I wanna fucking DM that thing, so you know.
Yeah, I'm just not sure what character I would use for that.
I have a few ideas for stuff. Like I actually have a Kinkoop rogue who's a pirate and treasure. Well, not a pirate, but he's a treasure hunter.
I'm sorry, but anything you use Llytic, I'm going to refuse because I am a horrible DM. Haha.
I thought it was because you hated me.
Oh no, only on Tuesdays. As long as we don't play on Tuesday, you'll be fine.
Well, fuck Tuesdays when we have Monster Hunter. Is that why the party has no leader? The party can't come to an agreement on anything because you hate me.
Yes.
I finally solved it.
Fuck you, God, I hate this world.
One of the things I've noticed is that apparently, because I've noticed, like, and I always feel kind of guilty about it in, like, the Friday session, of, like, usually whenever, something actually starts going, it's usually because I've decided, all right, I'm doing this. And then in the Monster Hunter session where I'm the DM, like, all right, what are you guys gonna do? And then none of you communicate with each other.
That's one of the things, like, just I need to try to do that a little bit better because it's like I'm usually pretty tired on Tuesdays for some reason. But
you stated that you're not going to be at the next session.
yeah, so do with that what y'all will.
That's going to be a nightmare.
Yeah. What was I gonna say? Oh yeah. Okay. So on the topic of the whole nautical thing, is like my first D&D campaign. I actually kind of turned into an island faring adventure, and we had this one awesome battle that was ship to ship combat. I single-handedly took over a ship. My friend or my now roommate, who was kind of the de facto leader of the party, had a group of hobgoblins he was leading around, and he captured a ship with his hobgoblin squad after saying "over the top," and they jumped onto the next ship. And our dwarf barbarian knocked all of the captains off of the ship with the charger feat and knocked them into the water, killing them instantly because heavily armored dwarf captains on a ship aren't gonna swim very well.
Yeah.
And then our rogue, my roommate Kyle, who y'all know, had this giant fuck off crossbow that he used and sunk a ship in one shot. So it was pretty freaking cool. But
I wonder if I could use my aberrant mind sorcerer tiefling for the naval one.
That could definitely be interesting.
Because I don't think Iliath Ruin Seeker would work for that because she's more of a land character. Because ruins. Yeah. Although the moment she hits level 6, I'm gonna give her the I forgot what it's called, but it's part of the Adept Explorer or whatever it's called, in which basically she gains a swimming speed of 35 as well as a climbing speed.
You could make her a treasure hunter and explorer of sunken ships if you wanted to. I could
make it to where it's just like, oh, the ship is heading... Like, if it's the whole thing of a ship's going to explore different islands, then that would work for her. Of course, there's always the chance of just going with a clone of Reneka.
That could be interesting. But, all right. I'm going to get back to my line now because I stopped and we started talking. They could get a better boat later when they had the goal to pay for it, or just stole it because that's what players do. Yeah. Now the party has free reign as to where they want to go. I have multiple quests planned based on which direction they decide to go and which islands they stop at. Once they get the boat, the party looks at the map and selects a region they want to go to and immediately sail off. The problem? This region was on the opposite side of the map, some 1,600 miles away. Why did they want to go there? Simple. There were gnomes there. Okay. The party had no idea what they were going to do when they got there, if they wanted to be involved in the war at all, or even why they needed to go where the gnomes were. But the entire party was adamant that that was where they were going to go. I explained that this will be a very long journey, but they ignore me.
I already told you what I want to do for my seafaring adventure, though, right?
I don't know.
I don't think so.
You'd pretty much just... Yeah, it's partly for the treasure, but it would probably be along the lines of you're pretty much mapping out this new area.
Yeah.
So I would have to create a system where, like a percentile system, where every time we go somewhere that isn't, main plot, and even between main plot islands, what I would do is roll a shit ton of dice and think of all the random stuff that would happen on the island, like.
Oh, God.
Is it a side quest island? Is it a random island? Have you run into an encounter where it's a strange beast that doesn't make sense?
Yeah.
Like that, give it different, adjectives that would change its stats only slightly.
Well,
I do have a half orc lurker of the deep pirate named Keth that could work for the seafaring one.
Yeah, and the Kinku pirate or the Kinku treasure hunter I have has proficiency with cartographer's tools, so he'd be the map maker.
Yeah, this guy technically has proficiency in water vehicles, so I could have this guy for a seafaring adventure.
That could be a lot of fun, honestly. But we'll figure it out.
We're getting distracted by the idea of what campaigns could we run.
Yes, I also want to have an island adventure.
Who doesn't?
Let's see, Aquamaldos, right?
Yes,
Aquamanalus.
Aquamanalus uses his ranger skills to find the direction they need to go, and the party sets off. I told them that they set sail all day and night falls. They are mortified to find out that they didn't make it there that day. I tell them the next day goes by and they still aren't there. They are even more distraught. A third day goes by, and a fourth and a fifth when they finally reach land. At this point, they are actively screaming at me. They walk along the beach to see an elf, and all hell breaks loose. Shorty starts accusing me of railroading, saying things like, I should have known you would do something like this. Nevertheless, every day you're going to make us do your stupid quest no matter what. Murder Hobo whines about the unfairness and about how I never let him do anything fun. Balls is convinced they're on some kind of time loop and comes up with wild theories about how they were teleported / to the future under a massive illusion spell. Shorty joins him in his wild conjecture and is convinced that they went through some sort of portal because they sailed for 5 days. They should have gotten anywhere. Suddenly he remembers that Aquamalus charted their course and decides he must have failed the roll and sent them in the wrong direction. He passed it easily. Starts yelling at Aquamalus, accusing him of ruining everything. The player's not a confrontational person, isn't very self-confident, so he takes this harshly and starts getting really upset and apologizing. Suddenly he realizes he had to pass the roll and stands up for himself, insisting he did anything wrong. The party goes back to yelling at me.
Finally, Kevin has the idea to ask the elf where they are. He tells them they are on an island in the direction they were heading, but not far from where they had started, and their destination was still a great distance away. The party is just hopelessly confused at this point, so I explained to them that they were headed toward their destination, but it was really, really far away, and that they'd landed on an island that was in their path. They refute this. Shorty insists they should have gotten there in 1 day. I show him the map and prove that assuming 8 hours of rowing in a day, what the rule book says to use, the boat would have to be going 200 miles per hour to get there in 1 day. Oh God. Murder Hobo interjects and claims rowing can go that fast. Ow!
Okay, I'm back. Sorry about that.
They're upset that they didn't go 200 miles per hour in a rowboat.
They
accused the DM of railroading because they didn't get to the island they wanted to go to on the other side of the map in 1 day.
Is it my line now?
No. I show them the rule book and multiple articles online on rowboat speed before they finally believe me. I then get accused of railroading them.
Oh, jeez.
I explain that they are free to go where they want to, but it will take them months of travel, and they would have to be more of an overall campaign goal than an immediate destination. They agree to this, and Shorty defiantly says that they are going to where the gnomes live, no matter what.
Oh dear.
200 miles per hour. I got the arm strength for it.
They set off again. There's just one problem. Even though it was proven that Aquamanalus had passed his role and had sent the party in the right direction, Shorty is still convinced he screwed up. Shorty decides that from now on, he is the only one who gets to navigate. The thing is, he has no survival or navigation ability and sends the party in the wrong direction. Aquamanalus also rolls the check, rolls higher than Shorty, and points out that they're headed in the wrong direction, but they don't believe him. They repeat this pattern several times. They spend the next 5 or 6 sessions going in zigzagging spiral path as they go anywhere but the direction of their ultimate destination. Eventually, they give up and just head straight east. What's east? They don't know, but they're going there.
And what does end up being east? An elvish blockade, of course. When they reach the blockade, they are for some reason traveling at night with only Shorty and their gnomish prisoner awake and steering the boat. They also never took down the gnomish flag from their boat because they thought it looked cool. So what they end up with is a boat used by the gnomish military with a gnomish flag piloted by a gnome and someone who looks like a halfling approaching an elvish blockade in the dead of night while there's a race war going on. Naturally, the military fires on them, nearly killing Shorty and sinking their boat. They mourned the boat more than they did any of the PCs that died later on in the adventure. The military took them prisoner, but upon realizing their mistake, apologized and gave them a new boat in exchange for rescuing some stranded soldiers. That boat they had for only a single session before they left it behind when they went to their biggest island in the region, which they went to for the sole reason that it was big and never came back for it. Ripped boat and party's absurd notions of nautical travel speed.
200 miles per hour.
The 200-mile-an-hour boat.
Chapter 3, The Cross-Dressing Gnome Slave. Welcome to the third installment of my experience running a maritime-based D&D party with a game with a party with many issues. This chapter focuses on Jiminy, the gnome the party enslaved and forced to cross-dress, among other disturbing things.
What the fuck?
The cast consists of Bottles, human wizard who collects things in empty bottles, Legend of Zelda style, Aquamanalus, half-elf ranger who really wants to get a mermaid, Shorty McDoors, elf cleric who is very short and is paranoid about secret doors being hidden everywhere, murder hobo, elf rogue who tries to murder everything in sight, and Kevin, half-orc barbarian who is normally the party's moral compass, but in this case is the primary antagonist. Oh no, not Kevin!
Now to the story.
Fucking chin.
The background of the campaign is that the land is in the middle of a race war with the larger races at war with the smaller races. In the first session, the party kills a group of gnomish soldiers and takes their boat. One of the soldiers, however, is spared. This would be Jiminy. In the first combat of the campaign, the party slaughters all of Jiminy's fellow soldiers, and Kevin tries to intimidate him into surrendering. He rolls a nat 20 to do so, and Jiminy rolls a 2 to resist. I tell Kevin the gnome is utterly terrified of anything Kevin says. Kevin's eyes light up with glee.
Oh,
That's
no.
never a good sign. Intimidation, aka persuasion for assholes. I actually do kind of wonder, since they use the same stat and kind of do the same thing, why they're separate. I mean, couldn't you just say that I'm trying to scare the shit out of them?
I mean, persuasion is more like being diplomatic about things and communicating well with people, while intimidation is just looming over someone and scaring the shit out of them.
But I mean,
And it's
functionally speaking, they're kind of the same.
Intimidation can also be used to dissuade people from talking to you, while persuasion is to persuade them to talk to you.
No, you persuade them to not talk to you.
That's
like I said, they're functionally speaking, they're the same. Flavor-wise, not so much. That's what I'm getting at.
Well, yeah. I mean, I guess because of the flavor, that's why they're separate.
Yeah, I don't know, because technically speaking, you wouldn't need them to be separate.
Yeah, well, intimidation can also use strength in some cases, so...
Well, you could do that with a lot of different things. You could use strength to persuade someone to do other things.
I really think you're just phrasing it in a way. Persuasion and intimidation are probably two different things, because you don't want your really nice good boy character to suddenly turn around and be very threatening.
I mean, if they're the very nice good boy, they wouldn't say that they're being threatening to do it.
Exactly. Which is why it's a different thing.
Don't think that... Okay, that's okay, so I think kind of the difference between it is so persuasion would be giving honey to... giving sugar cubes to a horse to get them to move, while intimidation would be beating the horse to get them to move. I
don't know why I suddenly imagined using the persuasion thing via a hug, and so you do it towards strength that way. It was a really good hug.
That'd still probably be charisma. Unless you're specifically trying to bear hug them. You don't need strength for the hug.
It's kind of the whole thing if you have the party half orc who's really strong so that they can give great hugs.
Well, that would be more of a strength check to make sure they don't break someone.
Anyway, at first they simply planned on using Jiminy to find out where the rest of the soldiers were. They did so and kill all of them with ease. After that, they were planning on simply dropping Jiminy in the middle of the ocean, but at the last minute they decided to spare him. Kevin tells Jiminy he is their slave now and once again rolls epically to intimidate him. Murder Hobo dissents and threatens to kill Jiminy, but the party stops him. Jiminy spends the first part of the adventure strapped to the mast begging for freedom, while Murder Hobo constantly considers murdering him. Eventually, the party decides that Jiminy's will has been broken, and they will make him row their boat at 200 miles per hour.
Oh, jeez.
Jiminy's got fucking pipes. After that, Jiminy slowly becomes entrusted with more and more tasks as he basically gets Stockholm Syndrome and becomes entirely devoted to the party, especially Master Kevin. He even gets armor and weapons and starts fighting with the party and gaining levels. The party grows quite attached to him, and he becomes the party's unofficial sixth member. Enslaving and brainwashing someone isn't the most ethical thing for them to do, but the party was, in case you hadn't noticed, good aligned, and it made for a fun role-playing experience.
Now's when things get weird. Kevin starts getting too attached to Jiminy. He carries him around in a backpack and threatens anyone who even looks at Jiminy the wrong way. He nearly murdered a racist guard after I said the guard looked at the gnome in his backpack with suspicion. Also, he buys Jiminy a dress. Jiminy is male, but Kevin buys him a dress and forces him to wear it. From this point on, he only allowed Jiminy to wear female clothing. He claimed it was so he could tell everyone Jiminy was his very short wife so people wouldn't get suspicious when they saw a gnome. At the time, it seemed funny, but in retrospect, it seems like it was some sort of forced cross-dressing / humiliation fetish. He then gets really paranoid that something bad is going to happen to Jiminy. He treats every NPC with hostility because they might harm Jiminy, and even indulges Shorty's hidden door obsession because there might be a hidden door with enemies behind it that could attack Jiminy. Even out of game, he starts texting me to make sure I wouldn't harm this NPC. At one point, he becomes convinced that I'm going to kill Jiminy for no reason and sends me messages about how I'm an evil DM and how he knows I'm going to kill Jiminy because that's the type of person I am. Abruptly, he stops doing this and returns to his normal self. A few sessions later, he just stops showing up and ceases all contact. I have not heard from him since. In-game, Kevin and Jiminy were left behind when the party went to do a mission for the Elvish military, and the party never encountered them again. Huh.
I don't know why, but the hidden doors with enemies behind it just made me think of that one lizard folk monk I came up with a while back, hiding in a cupboard. Just open up the door, they spring out and start mauling someone.
It's a good thing I was a DM, because the more he was worried about, the more likely I would have tried to kill Jiminy.
Oh god!
Hell, after Jiminy started to wear a dress, Jiminy would probably A, try to kill him in his sleep, or B, just jump overboard. Like, nope, I'm not dealing with this no more.
Yeah, that is just fucking weird.
That's fucked up is what it is.
Also, if everyone was, sleeping while he was rowing and it was like late at night like the other campaign session, I would totally have him throw the directions off.
200 miles per hour.
Now we're getting into horror story territory.
Oh,
okay,
chapter 4?
Chapter 4,
I mean,
totally.
The last one was kind of
Okay.
getting more into that territory, but yeah. Go ahead, Zane, sorry.
That's fine. I'm looking at a server right now for roleplay, and someone just said anyone can do whatever they want, and the only way to decide who's strongest is whoever is the better friend with the owner.
Oh god. Well, at least they're honest.
Let's see. Chapter 15. Thump. Terry's
Dick.
Island's an idiot. Chapter 4. The totally safe storm shelter for the definitely not bad guys. Welcome to the 4th segment in our Tropical Island Center D&D campaign I ran with a party of rather unique individuals. This chapter focuses on the time the party nearly got themselves killed in a hurricane, then became murder-happy looters.
Quick introduction. Party members are bottles. Human wizard who collects random substances in his empty bottles. Aquamanolos. Half-elf ranger who at this point had just acquired a giant pet crab named Scooby. He later gets a lobster named Scrappy. Shorty McDoors. Elf cleric who worships the god of thievery and is obsessed with hidden doors. Murder hobo. Elf rogue who only cares for killing people. Kevin. Half-orc barbarian who is dumb, but lovable. At least at this point. Jiminy. NPC gnome warrior the party enslaved and indoctrinated into the party. The party has a boat they stole from the military, and they're sailing to the east for no particular reason.
The party starts the session in a decently sized island trading. In the session immediately before this, Aquamanolis bottles were hired by a pearl merchant to kill some evil eel people that had infested his favorite pearl diving area. They then killed the eel people and ate their remains. There was much debate as whether or not this counted as cannibalism. At the start of this session, they were explaining what had happened in the previous one to the rest of the party, and as soon as Shorty hears that there's a place with the pearls nearby, he decides the party is going there to go pearl diving. It goes even worse than you're expecting. Kevin tries to open the oysters while still underwater. Ropes break, multiple players nearly drown. Bottles uses a gust of wind spell to help, but only makes things worse when he blows the boat away from the drowning party members, and the party ends up with absolutely nothing for their efforts. In fact, they lost money because they had to replace the broken ropes.
Oh my god.
Meanwhile, I have Aquamanalist roll a survival check to notice something about the weather. He passes in using his seafaring rangery wisdom to discern that a massive storm is approaching. He tells this to the party. Kevin is concerned, but the others insist they'll be fine and continue to fail at diving for pearls. Time passes and things get more ominous, and they still won't go back to the shore. Shorty insists they've already nearly died pearl diving, so they have to keep going. So it wasn't all nothing. Did I mention Shorty has a gambling problem? I clarify that Aquamanalist can sense that the storm is a full-on hurricane and the party needs to leave immediately. Shorty still won't leave, so Kevin and Aquamanalist commandeer the boat by force and steer it back to town.
I just had the most horrible idea for a ranger.
A
ranger whose hated animal is just an actual animal.
So beast?
No, specifically like in this case it's a fisherman, right? Imagine a fisherman whose hated animal is simply fish.
Okay.
So every time he fishes, he has advantage or whatever you get for fishing.
God.
Or every time they hunt, they're really good at hunting specifically like elk or something. It has no actual combat value. It's just anytime they need food, they're there.
Oh god.
Oh gosh, let's see. The party,
They
right?
arrive.
Oh, they arrive at the town just before the storm is about to hit. Kevin jokingly says that since his character has 5 intelligence, he hides in the first building he sees, not caring about how unstable it is. Finds a rundown shack on the pier and a small breeze could top over. He calls this perfect and runs inside. The rest of the party joins him. Kevin clarifies out of the game that he was not being serious and that the party should definitely find shelter elsewhere. They ignore him and call a crowd to this tiny shack that only has room for 4 people at most, and it clearly isn't a safe place to be during a hurricane. They then announce that they wait out the storm and go back to pearl diving. I tell them that they can't just wait it out because things are going to happen. Shorty argues me and insists that they wait until the storm because, and I quote, what could possibly happen? The storm picks up and they still don't realize that they need to go somewhere else. It's not until the roof gets torn off that it occurs to them that maybe they need to find shelter safer or somewhere safer.
Kevin has an excuse. The rest of the party does not.
Yeah.
Oh, this looks safe. Rest of the party joins like, no, you shouldn't.
No, guys.
Wait out the storm.
No, guys. This was in character. We should seriously find somewhere else. Guys, come on now.
Guys? Unfortunately for them, they're on the end of a pier that is being torn apart by hurricane force winds. They make a mad dash for the nearest stone building, a church just off the pier. Bottles, Aquamanelos, and Murder Hobo make it to the church, and they are let inside by a priest. But Shorty gets blown away by the wind. It's only through a creative use of an animate rope spell that they manage to lasso him and save him from the storm. Meanwhile, Kevin, while carrying Jiminy, honestly, all I could think about is Ox Venture with the explorer character that they ran into. They just started putting him in a papoose. But less hilarious and more concerning. Where the fuck was I? Rolls a nat 20 against the storm and says he keeps running through the streets until the wind stops him. He proceeds to roll a second nat 20. It gets very far away from the rest of the party until he finally ends up at a blacksmith shop where he smashes the door off its hinges and bursts inside. To the horror of the blacksmith. Somebody once told me the world's gonna roll me. I ain't the sharpest tool in the shed. I still love the fact that got Kyle.
Yeah, it was pretty funny.
Oh yeah, this song's pretty goddamn it. Kevin apologizes and sort of repairs the door and begs the blacksmith to let him and Jiminy stay there, which he does, nervously.
Back at the church, Bottle stands out in the storm trying to fill one of his empty bottles with rainwater. The others drag him back inside. They talk a bit with the priest and he leads them down to the cellar of the church. While they're headed down, Murder Hobo randomly starts criticizing the church's architecture and insults the priest's religion. Oh boy, they shut themselves in the cellar and the party instantly decides that the priest is evil and they have to murder him. Okay.
St. Lolly's disappearance didn't lead to this much chaos. It didn't lead to some chaos.
This priest has done nothing other than help them when they got themselves stuck outside in a storm. But no, the defenseless old man is evil and has to die. I mean, okay, at this point in time, it's like, okay, cool. He's defenseless and has to die. Turns out he actually is an elder lich, and they just pissed off a lich. Roll initiative.
What a nice old man. Let's kill him.
They start openly talking about how and why they're going to kill him. Eventually, they decide against murdering him for now. Then they hear something large enter the church above them and start smashing things. The priest says the party should see what's happening. They tell them they don't care. It's his problem. Once again, start discussing murdering him for having the audacity to suggest they actually do something about the large monster destroying the church above them. The monster proceeds to destroy most of the church before the party finally decides to do something about it. They go upstairs, find a pair of elementals smashing the church, easily defeat them, go back down to the cellar, and once again threaten the priest, this time for not being useful during the fight. Oh my gosh, guys, come on! Please, no.
I'm just a kindly old man.
I just wanted to help you get out of the storm. Why do you hate me?
Why do you hate me so? I fucking can't do an old man voice. I can do an old lady voice, kind of.
Why do you hate me so?
What did I ever do to you?
Meanwhile, Kevin is also battling elementals. They burst into the blacksmith shop and the smith offers to forgive Kevin for the broken door in exchange for defeating them. Kevin agrees and slays the elementals. During the fight, the blacksmith is knocked unconscious and Kevin stabilizes him. The eye of the storm arrives and it becomes temporarily safe to go outside. Kevin decides that he is entitled to a free piece of armor since he saved the blacksmith's life, so he takes the gnome-sized suit of armor off the rack since he rolled yet another nat 20. There's conveniently a set of full plate mail that fit Jim Mini perfectly.
Holy shit.
Again, this sounds like Ruru, but extra steps.
Yeah. It sounds like Ruru, but like terrible.
This entire party sounds like Ruru, but terrible. It's the voices inside Ruru's head.
Murder the priest, not because he's evil, but because he might have cool heirlooms down here.
Oh god, something happens, Ruru loses all self-control and suddenly this happens.
Murder the blacksmith, now you can have all the weapons and armor.
Don't worry, this boat can go 200 miles per hour. It's a very fast boat.
Actually, Ruru probably would never do an ocean adventure because think about what would happen if she accidentally drops her head over the side of the boat.
Oh no. She'd drown.
The rest of the party leaves the ruins of the church, bad-mouthing the priest as they go. In the end, they decided not to murder him, though Murder Hobo almost killed him anyway. Bottle steals multiple bottles of holy water as they meet up with Kevin and immediately want to go back out to sea to continue their pearl diving, not realizing the storm isn't over yet. Aquamanelos relaxes. Aquamanelos, meanwhile, is absolutely losing his mind because he's gotten separated from his pet giant crab. He has a full-on anxiety attack over his crab. I assure him that his crab is fine and I wouldn't just kill it. He responds with, "But you don't know that."
You don't know that, God.
But you don't know that. I'm pretty sure you don't know that. Yes, I do. I'm the DM. Your crab is fine. This does nothing to assuage his concerns.
Also, for anyone wondering, Ruru is a Doulahan, so that's why we're talking about her having her head separate from her body, just in case.
Doulahan rogue.
Yeah.
She's also the murder hobo of our party.
And
even
honestly,
then-
kind of restrained for a murder hobo. Again, you didn't break into someone's room.
And
She
then,
would though.
and then
For
at the
money.
same, and like, but even if she is the most murder hobo party, she's still not as bad as these assholes.
Bear
She
in
doesn't
mind-
do a lot of murdering. She's mostly just hoboing.
Bear in mind, that's the party where the bard is the source of reason, is the voice of reason.
Yeah. The
Not
party
only that, but the bard is also a prostitute. So
the party
is the voice of reason.
Yeah. The party is still not getting that the storm is still going on, heads to a bar. They find nobody there and immediately everything not held down. Shorty steals several bottles of alcohol. Aquamanalist starts drinking heavily to get over the anxiety of his missing crab. Kevin samples some fine wine. Bottles tries to steal a table. I have no idea what he planned to do with it. And Murder Hobo hides in the shadows. Oh, okay. They're interrupted when the barkeep emerges from the wine cellar and asks what the hell they're doing. They simply ignore him. The barkeep informs him that the storm hasn't ended yet and they have to leave, so the party demands he let them into the cellar. He tells them the cellar is already full of people and there's no room for them. They proceed to beat him up, threaten him at knife point, and demand he let them in. They pack themselves into an already overcrowded wine cellar and threaten to murder anyone who tries to stop them. They refuse to leave this wine cellar for almost the entire rest of the session. When elementals start destroying the bar above them, they don't bat an eye. They even ignore the boss fight. They also refuse to let any of the NPCs talk. Any word they say is met with a dagger pressed against their throat. At one point, a baby starts crying, and Shorty tells the mother he'll murder it if she doesn't stop it from crying. Murder Hobo says that they should kill the mother and child anyway. They sit there threatening people and refusing to do anything else for hours. When the storm finally ends, they exit the cellar and proceed to rob the bar further and steal several more bottles of alcohol. Barkeep objects to this and gets beaten up once again. Oh, jeez.
It's not often that the party straight up ignores the boss fight.
That's like... okay.
Then again, last session, you started describing something and I had Sazerac immediately close the door.
Well, I mean, that fit thematically, so...
You hear loud hissing noises and this weird scream. Nope.
Yeah, no thanks.
I mean, given what
Ruru
happened,
was just like, let's not wait around and ask what's going on. Let's just leave.
given what happened with the skeletal horseman, though, I've been impaled, and I've been impaled, nearly killed by it, nearly killed by impalement. Put back on my feet, and then nearly trampled to death.
Honestly, what was happening there is that you saw the light, but instead of it being a constant stream, it was like a child flicking a light switch on and off.
I saw the light, and then someone got in the way of it and called me a slut. Don't worry, Sinner. It's not your time. Thank you for the res, but fuck you for the comment.
Ruru's just like, God, she's lucky she's not rich or I would have robbed her dry. Alright, let's see.
She gave Ruru all the money willingly.
Yep. They go back, right?
Yes.
They go back to their boat and are fierce when I tell them it's sustained minor damage. They relent when I tell them they can fix it themselves without paying anyone. Meanwhile, Aquamala reunites with this crab and is overcome with joy that it's okay. He thanks me profusely and jumps around the room even though I had made it clear that I was never going to harm his pet giant crab. They sail off into the sunset and are dismayed when several sessions later they find out their group has a reputation for being murderous thieves. They call this unfair because they didn't kill anyone this time, and insist they aren't evil, except for Murder Hobo, of course. He thinks they should do it all again.
Honestly, at least Murder Hobo's honest.
How dare they call us murderous thieves? You threatened an entire town. Chapter 5.
Oh, man.
The death and sort of rebirth of Shorty McDoors.
Shorty McDoors. Oh no.
Also, I think it's worth noting that the way he stated it, the person playing Aquamanalos jumped around the room in real life, happy that his crab that he was told survived.
I'm just imagining that one scene where Gollum is like jumping around because he has the ring back. Like,
You mean the part where he falls back into the lava?
before then, remember how happy he was and how he was
Yeah.
dancing around with it in his hands? I'm just imagining that.
Meanwhile, welcome to part 5 of a series in which I recount the horrors I experienced while running a D&D game with some truly bizarre players. This section focuses on the time one of the players stupidly got themselves killed and came back from the dead, but not exactly.
I'm just going to go ahead and do the entire recap of characters.
All right.
Recap of characters. Bottles, human wizard who collects random things in an assortment of empty bottles. Aquamanalus, half-elf ranger who's basically Legolas crossed with Aquaman. Kevin, half-orc barbarian with a gnomish slave named Jiminy. Blasphemy the Clown, evil human paladin obsessed with all things necromancy. His previous character, the self-explanatory literal murder hobo, had just run away after the party tried to kill him and was never seen again. Also, he wears a clown suit for no apparent reason. Cody McDore is a very short elf cleric and subject of this chapter. He has a fixation with his elven ability to detect hidden doors and asks if there are any hidden doors nearby at every opportunity.
I'm not gonna lie, I will continue running this party too just to see what the fuck happens.
Our story begins with the party exploring a dungeon that has many puzzles they have to solve with the occasional monster thrown in. At the very start of the dungeon, the party reaches a point where they don't want to move forward because they suspect there might be a trap hidden somewhere. Shorty ignores him and confidently walks forward into a trap. He's hit with a poison dart, has his strength reduced to 1, and collapses under the weight of his gear. The party is forced to carry him back to town to be healed. Things don't get much better from there.
Wow. Every time the party enters a new room, Shorty, true to form, asks if there are any hidden doors before I even finish my description of the room.
Mm-hmm.
I will say that is one of the things I'm not too proud about when it comes to me DMing is the fact that I know a good job of describing things properly. Or environments, anyway.
You're in a square room. The tiles are in a very square shape. It's kind of brownish in color.
I feel like I'm good at describing the monsters, but other than that, not so much. Or at least decent at describing the monsters.
Mm-hmm. And you're getting better as you're getting more experience, so it's nothing to be worried about. It takes a bit before you can get the descriptions down. So,
one of the rooms happens to contain the only hidden door I have ever placed in this entire campaign. He fails to notice it. It turns out that after an entire campaign of constantly nagging me about looking for hidden doors, his search bonus was terrible, and he had little to no chance of finding them. He stopped searching for hidden doors after this. Later on, during a fight against some gargoyles, Aquamanalus rolls a nat 1. He is very unlucky, and this happens a lot, and accidentally shoots Shorty in the back for minor damage. This will be important later.
Sounds like my roommate Kyle. Just always terrible luck. And then succeeding when it doesn't matter.
I mean, he's been doing the most damage in the Monster Hunter campaign.
Give it time. Trust me.
Who?
Kyle, my roommate.
Kyle. Wait for him to get a nat 1 and hit one of the team. It's Reginald in the face with a hammer.
Mm-hmm. Eventually, the party comes to a room with a large statue standing at the top of a small pyramid holding a key. They very quickly figure out that taking the key will make the statue come to life and murder. In a rare move for this party, they have an actual logical discussion about how to get the key away from the statue without it waking it up. They discuss replacing it with something the same way, Indiana Jones style, lassoing it, grabbing the key, playing hot potato with it, tying the statue down before taking the key, and several other decent ideas. For reasons I will never understand, Shorty completely ignores the discussion and grabs the key, knowing full well what is going to happen when he does so. The entire party is yelling at him not to do this, but he ensures them with the ironic last words of, "Relax, I've got this." As a fun side note, the other last words of the characters this player has included, "I'll be fine, we can take her, trust me, it'll work, and they'll forgive us." The statue comes alive and everyone rolls initiative. Shorty goes first, followed immediately by the statue. The party is screaming at him to run away, to put the key back, to throw it to someone else, or to protect himself with one of his spells. A sanctuary spell would have been perfect here, and I initially thought this was his plan. I was wrong. Rather than do any of this, he tries to cast Inflict Serious Wounds. Oh no. He seemed convinced that this would kill the statue. It couldn't. The spell isn't very good, and he missed anyway. The statue makes a single swing, gets a natural 20, cracks Shorty's skull wide open, and his lifeless body tumbles to the pyramid.
Relax, I've got this. Crack.
I could just picture Ruru just being like, invisible mage hand, go.
Yeah, like even Ruru wouldn't walk up there and do that.
Now,
Now,
let's not forget the first session of the campaign where Ruru literally said, "Ooh, shiny."
yes, but that wasn't the case in which you had talked it out with members of the party and said, yeah, that thing's gonna come to life when we touch it. At least when you touch the helmet that you were explicitly told not to touch, it was with Mage Hand.
Yeah.
See, Ruru she likes shiny things.
Like in this case, she probably would have used Mage Hand. She wouldn't have just walked up to it and touched it.
She would have used Mage Hand, and then since she has Cunning Action, she would have used the dash to get the fuck out of there. She's already like 30 feet away, and now she's like 60 feet in the opposite direction.
I don't know why I suddenly got the mental image of Ruru handing her head off to someone else so it couldn't like bash her brains in.
Here, hold this.
Would the lack of a head in that situation cause disadvantage on attack against them? Just because it's not like you can't hit where you think you could?
I mean, it might be, but at the same time, it could just transition from a headshot to a body shot, so...
Fair enough.
Yeah, instead of cracking for the head, it's just been like, ooh, there's a hole right here, and then stab directly into the heart.
Stab down.
Or just hit it with a blunt end and slap it so hard Ruru gets a concussion when she hits her head on the ground for dropping it.
Or just...
no. What I discussed was her handing her head to someone else to get like a view from like to keep it out of the area. Hold on to this, will ya? As her headless body walks up the stairs.
Is it Wetline?
Yes.
The rest of the party screams like a group of teenage girls in a horror movie. Aquamalidus runs away, nearly making it all the way out of the dungeon before he starts feeling guilty about leaving his friends and decides to turn around. Kevin turns to Jiminy and gives him an impassioned speech about how his third best friend in the world has just died. Jiminy was ranked first and Aquamalidus second, and the anguish his character feels and how he sees the end might be near. Then, with actual tears in his eyes, Kevin tells Jiminy to run away and save himself and not to turn around for anything. Don't look back, Jiminy, never look back. Bottles spends a good amount of time yelling at Shorty that his death was entirely his own fault and starts kicking his lifeless body in anger.
Oh no.
Last review just stands there and smiles. Shorty, meanwhile, insists that his death was not his fault and that everyone should focus their anger on the real culprit. Aquamanalos. He blames his death on the fact that he wasn't at full health when the statue ended because Aquamalos had accidentally shot him earlier, never mind that it was still a stupid plan. Had a very low max health to begin with, low constitution and unlucky health rolls.
Oh my god.
He could easily have healed himself before taking the key, and he still would have died without the damage from the getting shot. Nope, it was all Aquamando's fault. He never admits fault in this. Even today, he still blames Aquamandos for Shorty's death.
Are these people like insane or mentally challenged? Like,
I think Kevin might actually be slightly unstable. Like legit, because it was like actual tears in his eyes. Alright. Don't be a dob. That's all I could say. Don't be a dob.
Dobby? Master has given Dobby a sock!
Thinking back to the Oxventure thing. So what did you guys do with the treasure just dob? I threw it in a lake. The rest of the party just... You did what? Yep, I took everyone's treasure and I threw it in a lake. I have a map to it, which I then threw in a different lake. It's like, oh. He kept the skeleton hammer, though. Oh god. Have you seen the latest one, Tom, that they did?
Who?
Oxventure.
No, I haven't.
They do a stag do, which is basically like the British equivalent of a bachelor party.
Okay.
for like a whole bunch of NPCs that are paying them to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And they're doing it on a ship.
Mm-hmm.
And the way they get it to where the ship can be controlled is they take out the hammer that controls the skeletons that destroyed that orphanage
Mm-hmm.
and have them run the ship.
And then what? Run the ship where?
The skeletons. They let the murder skeletons run the ship. The skeletons agree to, so long as they're allowed to kill every seabird they come across.
Why the seabirds?
because they can't do anything without murdering something. They were told to rebuild an orphanage, and they use the orphans as mortar.
Oh, jeez.
Gosh.
Like, literally, it was a moment of, oh yeah, the orphanage looks kind of nice. What's that red stuff between the bricks? Orphans! Okay, you see, we kind of need orphans for the orphanage. You want us to make more orphans? No!
All right. Whose line is it?
It's mine.
Okay.
The statue calmly collects the key and goes back to the pedestal on top of the pyramid. Kevin and Bottles try attacking it, but are unable to do any damage. Bottles then takes out his collection of bottles and starts dumping them on the statue, hoping that one of the random substances he created will be the statue's secret weakness. He dumps cave water, seawater, holy water, eel saliva, 2 unidentified potions, which were health potions that had to be drank to work, and hobgoblin blood on the statue. None of this has any effect, though Kevin does burst out laughing at the idea that I would create an enemy who could only be killed by hobgoblin blood. Eventually, they managed to take the key by lassoing it and getting out of the area, which was their original idea. This inspires a whole new round of yelling at Shorty after getting himself killed when they'd already solved the puzzle.
Now for the rebirth part. Blasphemy starts laughing maniacally to him, won't tell anyone why. He then walks up to Shorty's body, pulls out an item that lets him cast Animate Dead, and brings Shorty back to life as a skeleton with a massive hole in the skull. He laughs about how the skeleton is under his control and he owns Shorty now. I offer to let Shorty play as his skeletonized character, which Blasphemy objects to since he's supposed to control the skeleton, repeating the line that Shorty is his, Shorty is his. Good lord, I override him with the fact that it's another player's character, but Shorty opts not to play as the skeleton and makes a new character. Since we were still in the middle of the session, we agreed to make his new character next time, and for the rest of the session, he would play as an NPC that had been traveling with the party. He hadn't really done anything important until now. Since he only has the character for one session, he proceeds to play with no regards for his own life, willingly charging ahead into traps and not even caring when his wisdom is permanently reduced to 1 by a Lamia. Also, the first thing he does after getting control of the character is try and fail to kill Blasphemy and the skeleton because he thinks this character seems like a decent guy, so he must want to kill any necromancer he sees.
Okay, 1. Neck wrist. That's really all.
Forehead. Alright.
Oh, fuck, now I'm just gonna... I just kind of want to check the Lamia's whole thing to see if they can permanently reduce someone to 1 wisdom.
It might have been... it sounds like they're not playing D&D 5th edition. It sounds like they're playing another...
Edition?
Yeah, they're not. They're playing like either 3.5
They do
or something.
have Charm Person and Suggestion. Intoxicating Touch. Magically cursed for 1 hour until the curse ends. The target has disadvantage on wisdom saving throws.
Okay.
You know, I might have to put some Lamias into the Planeswalker.
That could be interesting.
Yeah, because Lamias are shown to exist in like the Magic the Gathering universe. Just that on Theros anyway, as the lion body, woman's head thing.
Okay.
And apparently they eat like... Oh, fuck, I'm gonna have to look back at the lore. Whose line is it?
It's Zane's.
Zane's.
Oh, my turn?
Yep.
The artist formerly known as Shorty proceeds to be obnoxious and whine about the unfairness of his death for the entire rest of the session. For the next session, we create his new character elf monk who happens to have a personal vendetta against all necromancers for no apparent reason. He really had no backstory, and it's just he didn't need one. He has constant clashes with blasphemy, which will be the subject of Chapter 6. This character becomes known as Dead Dog when Bottles looks at his character token and accuses it for a dead dog. It was a completely generic elf token that had no way resembled a deceased canine. As for the skeleton, Blasphemy keeps it around for the entire rest of the campaign, never once having it do anything. It spends most of the time stuffed in a crate. He just constantly brags about having it and threatens to have it kill Dead Dog in his sleep on multiple occasions. He also talks about making his own skeleton army and never once makes any more skeletons besides the one he already has.
This just...
This is toxic.
Also, I found the card. It's Thought Render Lamia, and the flavor text says some predators can sense fear in their prey, but the Lamia is drawn to madness.
I see.
Yeah. So yeah, Lamias do exist in that world as the lion thing, not the snake thing.
Mm-hmm.
Which is weird because technically speaking, the snake thing came first because Lamia was turned into a Dracana.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, Chapter 6, The Never-Ending Duels of Dead Dog and Blasphemy of the Clown.
Oh, we're gonna keep going? Yeah.
Yeah, well, there's 3 left, so we might as well finish them.
3? I can't read.
I know.
No, they're not too long. And this is actually kind of fun. I'm enjoying just seeing this.
Oh,
and it's making me feel better about sessions that I run and am a...
Fuck, it makes me feel better about sessions I run.
And
I know I make mistakes.
There was 10 in total, so I thought we were split into 5 and 5. My bad.
Not 8.
Right.
Welcome to the 6th session of my series, in which I recount the horrible tales of the time in college when I DM'd for a group of homicidal morons. This chapter focuses on a long-running rivalry between 2 of the players and the times it drove the campaign off the rails.
Okay. Yes. Can I do the same thing? The characters and go over that. Okay. The characters. Bottles. Human wizard loves to put anything and everything in his collection of empty bottles. I actually kind of like Bottles the wizard, even though he's insane, just like everyone else is. It's just a fun character concept. Aquamanalist. Half-elf ranger wants to bang a mermaid, not featured in this story. Dead Dog. Half-elf monk. Replacement character for Shorty McDoors. A very short cleric who got himself killed stupidly and was subsequently turned into a skeleton. Has a deep hatred of Blasphemy the Clown. The name comes from when Bottles looked at his token and thought it was a dead dog despite it being a completely generic elf token. Blasphemy the Clown, evil-aligned human paladin, replacement character for literal murder hobo, elf rogue whose name is self-explanatory. Obsessed with necromancy, turns Shorty's corpse into a skeleton and keeps him around just to brag about it. Also, he wears a clown suit at all times. There was a 5th player named Kevin, but at this point in the campaign, he had stopped showing up to games and eventually ceased all contact.
I really wonder what happened with Kevin.
Yeah.
I do too, honestly.
Like, I don't know if it's the DM is also not as good, or if these people are just as crazy as he thinks.
It sounds like the people are crazy because the DM's rolling with this and it seems like he has some pretty cool ideas for the campaigns.
Yeah.
Apparently he's a big bully. As a bit of a background, Blasphemy and Dead Dogs players have hated each other for years, going all the way back to high school. Years before this game, I ran another one where Blasphemy was a serious problem player. Played a healer and wouldn't heal the other players unless they paid him.
So
that
Ruru
sounds
is a
like
healer.
That sounds like Ruru as a healer. Llytic stole from the party, tried to murder an innocent dog, etc., and Dead Dog ended up killing his character. I tell that story, but it's mega not safe for work. Let's just say that child prostitution was involved, and it was maybe the 4th or 5th worst thing to happen in that campaign.
Oh,
wow.
They both claim this is why they don't get along, but I suspect their dislike for one another goes back much further. I assume that since this was years ago, they'd have forgotten each other and would be on better terms.
Forgiving each other.
You'd hope.
Before this game, I made sure to ask both of them if they were okay with playing with one another. Both of them assured me that they could get along. This did not happen.
Yeah, it sounds like.
Oh, fuck, sorry, I was looking up Pathfinder 1E races. Being as 2E doesn't really have much races at the moment. Anyway. In the game, the 2 players became instant enemies. Their previous characters argue constantly, and in Chapter 1, Shorty even tries to kill Murder Hobo before Kevin stops him. When they get their new characters, their characters either died or left the party within a few sessions of one another, things get much, much worse. Seconds after Shorty dies, Blasphemy uses anime dad. Is it that fucking idol anime?
AFK Arena.
Okay, I've heard of that one. I used to play that, but it doesn't really do much.
Well, yeah, it's AFK Arena.
Yeah, it's basically one of those things of like you can continue collecting resources when you're not playing the game, and then like completely free. Luckily, it's not like you have to pay in order to do that. But Animate's dead to turn his body into a skeleton and brags about how he owns him now. When Dead Dog joins the party the session after, he immediately distrusts Blasphemy and makes several threats to murder him and the skeleton he's insisting is insisting it's in character. That reminds me, one of the things I need to get around to is actually writing down the backstories for different I have. Because I have backstories for them in mind, I just haven't put them into like proper words yet.
Yeah, that can be a good thing to do. The two
Granted,
constantly...
Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say, granted, I felt just completely like ill prepared whenever I like looked at like Kresnik's backstory, and it was just like multiple pages, and then I just had like Sazarek's backstory, and it was just kind of like a brief overview, just kind of like a good outline that could be fleshed out if need be.
Well, keep in mind, Michael has been doing this for years, so he tends to go overboard because like that was one of the things is one of my first exposures to D&D when I knew him back in high school was he told me that he would play D&D 2nd edition with his dad, and I never asked if I could play it with him because in social anxiety and insecurity, but I always kind of wanted to, and I'm kind of disappointed that I didn't. But
well, like with that sort of thing, I always end up getting the feeling. I guess it's just me, like a personal philosophy with me, that I don't need to go in depth with the backstory. I can typically keep it loose. That way, it's like a general outline. That way, it's flexible, and the DM can basically just mold that to his own needs.
Yeah, but when it comes to stuff like that, you can be as detailed as you want to be, and if the DM is anything worth their salt, they can fit that in with the story. Is the whole thing.
But like, because like there was my like half a page, and then I looked at his, it was like, oh dear God.
And then mine was even smaller because
yours was like a sentence.
It's just a joke too. She's just a fucking murder hobo.
Like any backstory with your character is implied.
Yeah.
Sometimes those are the best backstories because you can come up with ideas on the fly that you hadn't originally thought of. And it's like there are different styles of backstories. Like people sometimes want to be vague, others just want to go super detailed down to the last childhood friend each character had who was eaten by mantis people or something. Like just lots of different things.
Honestly, with that kind of thing, I always get the feeling of actually, where was it gonna go with that? Fuck. Never mind.
I used to do really big. Whenever I did form role plays, I got really good at making character sheets, so I knew how to do really large histories. But like,
now with people that they knew, I always get the feeling that the best way to do that is I found like a variant role that someone had come up with, and it seemed like a pretty good idea, and it was called like I know a guy.
I know a guy rule. Yeah,
I've
like, heard about that.
That seems like a good idea of how to do that. Like, something happens, one character basically goes, "Wait, I know a guy." And they give like a brief overview and description of said person to the DM.
Mm-hmm.
And then like depending on the role, depends on how quickly they manage to find the guy. Like that's actually a pretty elegant way of doing that.
Yeah, I
anyway.
think so. The best way I think when it comes to backstories is kind of a hybrid between the two. Somewhat detailed, but also flexible for molding purposes. Anyway, the two constantly bicker throughout the campaign, but it's mostly just small arguments that don't distract from the adventure. This changes when Blasphemy decides to buy a specially crafted adamantine shovel. He had somehow acquired a block of adamantine. I don't even remember how he got it, and he hired a blacksmith to make it into the head of a shovel. For a bit of background, Blasphemy's player has a weird thing for shovels that has carried across multiple characters across multiple games. It goes back to a Dark Heresy game where we were in when another player bought a shovel, and he wanted one too, but he rolled abysmally to find one, and the DM told him that there were none for sale in the entire town. He spent the rest of that game asking every NPC he saw to lend them their shovel, and even broke into a shed or two trying to steal one to no avail. Since then, several different characters he's played have lusted after obtaining a shovel and have been very, very happy if and when they get one. Long story short, this shovel is extremely important to him, meaning more to him than anything else in the world. Also, being made of adamantine, it is worth thousands of gold. It was quite possibly the most expensive shovel ever made, so it wasn't exactly easy to replace. I don't like where this is going.
Along comes Dead Dog, who, just to cause trouble, stealthily follows Blasphemy around the entire day while he's buying the shovel and other miscellaneous things, and steals the shovel along with most of Blasphemy's gold. Dead Dog has no training in sleight of hand, but manages to roll a nat 20 to take the shovel. He even goes so far as to steal Blasphemy's character sheet when he isn't looking and erase the shovel from it as well as subtract the amount of gold he stole. Blasphemy miserably fails to roll to notice being robbed and doesn't think any of why I keep asking him to roll spot checks. He doesn't notice anything amiss until he tries to buy something else and sees the amount of money on his character sheet has been changed. He instantly blames Dead Dog for this. Dead Dog tries to hide again, but rolls terribly and ends up clearly visible in the middle of the street, holding the shovel and the stolen gold. Blasphemy draws his sword and threatens to kill Dead Dog unless he gives the money and shovel back and apologizes. Dead Dog refuses and confidently says Blasphemy will never beat him in a fight.
Oh boy.
Blasphemy charges at him, and the two of them proceed to have an all-out brawl in the middle of the street. Despite his initial confidence, Dead Dog loses the fight horribly as his punches can't get through Blasphemy's plate mail, and Blasphemy does massive damage to him with his magical frost sword. He resorts to Plan B and runs away and climbs onto the roof of a nearby building, much to the anger of the building's owner. Blasphemy tries to chase him, but can't climb the building in his own armor. He starts throwing javelins instead. Whispering on the verge of death, Dead Dog starts shouting to the onlooking crowd that Blasphemy is a necromancer and he has a pet skeleton. Necromancy, by the way, is super illegal. He then lists the many other crimes Blasphemy has committed through their adventure. Blasphemy then turns to the crowd and starts telling them that Dead Dog is a thief who tried to kill him. Eventually, the guards show up and the two of them end up pleading their cases to the guards with each other and to get the other arrested. I have them roll opposed diplomacy checks to see who wins over the guards, and they tie. I decide this means that they both give convincing arguments and are both telling the truth about the crimes the other committed, and the guards don't have any evidence either way other than words, so they don't arrest either of them and simply escort them out of town. Dead Dog then returns a shovel to Blasphemy but refuses to give back the money. They instantly seem to forget the entire thing and go along their merry way.
Oh my goodness.
No touchy my shovel.
No, these players seem like they have issues, like something like immense issues, like freaking. Or it might just be that I've been fortunate enough to have good players and be a part of campaigns with good players, but like this just seems terrible.
Something I find kind of weird. I guess I'm still just looking at the whole like Lamia thing right now. But despite the fact that there is now a canon Centaur race for 5e, not a Lamia one. Like, people have homebrewed the stereotypical serpent Lamia, but not the canon Lamia. And really, you'd think that really all you'd have to do with that is basically like combine traits of like Drow with traits of a Centaur, while still keeping it balanced.
Yeah, I mean, it would be an interesting process to go about, but like I could see it happening, honestly.
Yeah, now I kind of want to try to homebrew this race to see if I can make it work and have it balanced. Anyway, my line. I'm getting sidetracked by stupid things.
I mean, we kind of all are.
I thought you were going to say you always do.
We kind of all are getting distracted by stupid things, and we always do get distracted by stupid things.
Oh, yeah. The very next session, they get into an even dumber fight. In this session, the party is escorting an archaeologist through an ancient monastery. Few highlights from the dungeon. The party sprints through the dungeon at full speed, thinking that they would be going too fast to get hit by any traps. This gets them hit by many traps. Blasphemy smashes every glass object they see because it all must be cursed. And the party tries to loot a bookshelf. They take every book and try to take the shelf itself, but are only stopped because it won't fit in the bag of holding. At the end of the dungeon, the party opens the door and comes out, and out comes a giant glowing ooze. The party screams in terror and runs back across the entire length of the dungeon, and once again trigger all of the traps. They don't actually leave the dungeon, going past the entrance to the opposite wing of the monastery until they reach a dead end. They wait there, hoping the ooze will go away. It follows their scent. Yes, oozes do smell, because they are the only delicious morsels in the area, and they end up trapped in the corner of the dungeon with a giant ooze that takes up the entire hallway.
Now for a bit of background on Dead Dog. While Blasphemy has a passion for shovels, Dead Dog has a passion for an item called a Bag of Tricks. Oh, I know those. Those are kind of fun. It's a bag that you can pull random animals out of and have them fight for you. Basically, it's a Pokeball. He thinks this is the most amazing thing ever. Except for Shorty, every character he has ever played has had some type of Bag of Tricks or a similar item. He always starts combat by pulling an animal from his bag, even when it's a terrible idea, such as the time he summoned a rhino in the ocean that immediately So when the ooze attacked, he pulled out a tiger, which the ooze instantly grabs and begins to devour. Blasphemy was apparently jealous of the dog's bag because he had recently bought his own Bag of Tricks. Except he got the lesser version, which only summons animals that aren't useful in combat. In his turn, he pulls a cat out of his bag. He then starts petting it. He pets a cat during combat.
I can relate.
I can too, but he refuses to fight. He just stands there petting his cat.
I would do a wisdom roll to see if that character fell for that.
See if your character starts petting the cat.
Yes.
Self-imposed wisdom roll. That'd be hilarious.
Oh, God.
Dead Dog gets angry at Blasphemy for not doing anything in the fight, even though he was also just standing there watching the tiger get digested. Oh, poor kitty. He proceeds to grab the cat from Blasphemy and break its neck.
Oh, God.
My God. Blasphemy is horrified, threatens to kill Dead Dog for this, but doesn't, and pulls out a second cat, which he also... Dead Dog tries to murder this one as well, but misses the attack and the cat runs away. He spends the next 10 rounds running in circles, chasing after the cat, while Blasphemy follows, begging him to stop. What the fuck, man?
There is a giant ooze. There are bigger priorities.
What Bottle's doing during all of this, he's attacking the ooze with every blasting spell he's got. The problem, this is a type of ooze called an arcane ooze, which is immune to magic. It also feeds on nearby magic, so every round Bottle spends near it, he loses an unused spell. Bottle simply does not understand the concept of the ooze being immune to magic and continues to attack with the same spells that clearly aren't working. Insert Far Cry reference about the definition of insanity.
Do you know the definition of insanity?
What makes this worse is that he's a transmutation-focused wizard, meaning he has plenty of spells that could hurt the ooze indirectly. He could cast one on as many pump spells on the party or the tiger. He could throw things at the ooze like telekinesis that could even teleport the party away from the fight entirely. He does none of this. He uses every fireball and lightning bolt and scorching ray he has, doing exactly 0 damage until he runs out of spells completely. While he's doing this, the ooze manages to eat through the tiger, a lion, and a second tiger, while Blasphemy and Dead Dog chase around a cat. At this point, the ooze actually gained health from absorbing Bottle's spells, and the party has turned what should have been a simple encounter into a near-death experience.
Oh.
I'm glad that's yet to happen in any of the campaigns I've been a part of.
I mean, heck.
Oh, wait.
Zane and the other Kyle, I
nearly killed myself.
Zane and the other Kyle like to mess with each other and act like they hate each other, but they don't just full out develop into brawls.
Except for that one time.
Well, I mean, that was thematic and it was funny, and it
also that episode never saw the light of day.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's
still canon in my eyes.
Poor hold the bacon. Oh God. But yeah, okay, aside from the one time where I made a horrific mistake and nearly got myself killed.
Mm-hmm.
Like, even then, it wasn't because I was like going out of my way to do something against someone else. It was more like, wait, I misjudged distance. Which that was directly after that time I had that dramatic entrance into a boss fight in which I jumped into the middle of it and used Thunder Wave.
Dynamic entry!
And then proceeded to try to stab the boss to death. That was a weird day.
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
No, actually, I did Thunder Wave twice in a row to get him out of the fog. So I could hit him easier.
I slapped his eyes with a whip.
Yeah, and then I proceeded to miss with my stabs. I got him twice with Thunder Wave, and then proceeded to miss stab.
Mm-hmm.
Oh fuck, who read the last line?
Zane.
Me.
Okay, the archaeologist at this point is frantically yelling at the party to do something. Dead Dog and Blasphemy leave their shenanigans and threaten to murder the archaeologist for having the nerve to tell them what to do. What does he think he is? They ask. The guy paying them for protection is the answer. They demand to fight the ooze himself. He says if he could fight everything himself, he wouldn't have hired them. They decide this means he must be evil.
Oh my gosh. This is...
Honestly, with this kind of party, if I was anyone who was employing them, I would have all of my bags of gold trapped with some kind of spell set to go off if it opens without taking off the spell.
In this party, Ruru would be the adult.
Yeah, that's a frightening thought.
Ruru would have been like, fair point. Time to go attack the slime.
Why are you guys fighting over a cat? You fucking idiots.
Honestly, Ruru would have kicked the cat. Not at first kind of thing, but if she saw them chasing the cat, she would have tried to kick it at the ooze.
I don't know, I get the feeling that the moment Blasphemy started petting the cat, Ruru would have shoved him towards the ooze.
Yeah,
I mean,
at this
all
point
right.
of the campaign, she'll just shove to the entire person near the ooze.
Oh, okay, you want to waste your turn? Fine.
Fine, I'm gonna waste my turn.
Or
maybe
at
not.
some point,
You'd
I
be
would've been
distracting the ooze.
Or it would have been Ruru would have been like, yeah, this group's a lost cause. I'm heading out.
No, you're cornered.
Fuck.
They're cornered.
Yeah, the ooze is
Distra-
taking up the entirety of the hallway.
And they're
Distract-
trapped.
Yeah,
Fuck.
they're cornered. They went
Damn.
past the entrance. Shove Blasphemy towards the ooze. We use him as a distraction. Let's see. They were about to kill him when Bottles interrupts to remind them the giant ooze is about to eat them all. Dead Dog sighs loudly about how unfair everything is and charges at the ooze. It starts eating him. Blasphemy finds this hilarious and refuses to help. He laughs as Dead Dog is slowly eaten alive in front of him. Dead Dog gets desperate and apologizes to Blasphemy for everything he's done and begs for mercy. Blasphemy then easily kills the ooze, which they could have done the entire time, and saves Dead Dog. Bottles then collects some of the ooze in one of his empty bottles. After they finish the dungeon, the archaeologist pays them, mostly out of fear. The party realizes he was carrying around a large amount of cash and considers murdering him to take it. They decide against it, though. They move on. I wish they could say that Dead Dog and Blasphemy let bygones be bygones and work together peacefully after this. But no, they had yet another confrontation in the very next session. That battle will be the subject of the next chapter.
Oh, boy.
Tom.
Chapter 7, Captain Blasphemy of the No Girls Allowed. This is the 7th and penultimate chapter of my horror series about the time I ran an island-based D&D campaign for a party of lunatics. That's a mild way of putting it.
That's a word for it.
This chapter focuses on the time one player bought a ship, declared himself captain, and nearly drove the party to starvation.
The cast: Bottles, human wizard who collects random useless things; Aquamaldos, a very lonely half-elf ranger who spent the whole campaign trying to hook up with a mermaid; Dead Dog, half-elf monk with a deep hatred for Blasphemy the Clown. Blasphemy the Clown, evil human paladin obsessed with all things necromancy. You turn the Dead Dog for his character and skeleton servant. Also, he wears a clown suit at all times.
Oh god, it's like being in a party with Gamzee.
Oh god.
Honk!
Honk.
I mean, you need to chill out, motherfucker. The campaign began as the party acquired a boat and with the party acquiring a boat and sailing it around in random directions. Eventually, they drove it into an army blockade and got it destroyed. See Chapter 2. After that, they got a new boat and sailed it to the biggest island in the region for the sole reason that it was big. I wish I could say I was surprised, but I'm not.
I'm not.
They spent most of the campaign on this very large island and never returned to their second boat. At this point in the game, the party had each had visions of the things they desired most and where to find them. Made this happen mostly because they simply would not stick to any kind of plot line. They decided to get a new boat and sail off to obtain these treasures.
The party is fairly what?
Just the fucking boat thing pisses me off.
Why?
They have a perfectly good fucking boat. Use it.
The party is fairly high level at this point, so they're all
the
massive.
boat got destroyed. Oh, wait, no, they got a second boat. That's right.
Yeah. The party is fairly high level at this point, so they're all massively wealthy. The party tasks Blasphemy with finding a ship for them to buy with their pooled money, but after he finds out that he's rich enough to buy one on his own, he buys a ship using money. Since he is the sole owner of the ship, he declares himself the captain and decides that the party is going after his treasure first. His treasure being a magical rod that greatly enhances how many undead minions he can have. The rest of the party objects to this at first, but goes along with it. Because Blasphemy has the maturity of a 9-year-old, he names this boat No Girls Allowed and bans all females from setting foot on it. I mean,
I would purposely throw in a mermaid. I would
probably
totally
kill it.
Exactly. I would intentionally make this as horrible as possible.
Oh god. No. You throw in like, oh fuck, what was it called? It's that 6-armed snake lady. You throw in several of those.
Well, no, think about it. They're in the middle of the ocean on the No Girls Allowed, and the dude who wants a mermaid girlfriend finally finds a mermaid. But they can't get on board.
Oh god.
The players are all guys, so the no girls rule doesn't affect him. There is still a problem, though. Aqua Manolis has recently gotten a girlfriend in character and wants to bring her along. Surprisingly, she is not a mermaid. She is an elven soldier the party was traveling with when they were ambushed at sea. She was shot by pirates and Aqua Manolis saved her, but only after having me roll for how hot she was. I rolled a perfect statistical average and said she was an entirely normal-looking woman with an average who was average in every way. She was so average-looking I named her Jane, as in plain Jane. In his mind, this makes her a supermodel. In his words, she was even hotter than a mermaid. Let me repeat that. She was completely average-looking. Jane had a friend...
How hot is she? Average. This is the most beautiful person I've ever seen.
I mean, good for him, I guess, but at the same time, why?
Jane had a friend with her who was slightly above average in attractiveness. In Aqua Manolis' mind, the friend was a goddess. Since she has a low charisma and low self-esteem, he decides the friend is out of his league and only hits on Jane, whom he's convinced he'll get points for saving her. He goes on several dates with the girl, even buying a magic item to increase his charisma just to be less awkward during their dates. Dead Dog gets mad that he doesn't get an in-character girlfriend from the same fight, despite the fact that he saved absolutely no one and spent most of the fight drowning because he jumped in the water for he couldn't swim. He also didn't, talk to them. When Blasphemy announces that no females are allowed on the ship, Aqua Manolis finally says he's bringing Jane along no matter what. He accuses Blasphemy of only making that role because he was jealous of his character for having a girlfriend. This was probably true. Aqua Manolis goes to Jane and gives a comically corny speech about wanting to sail off and start a life together. He rolls terribly to do this, and she rejects him. Also, she was still a soldier, and leaving with him would have been desertion, which is punishable by death. So this was probably for the best. Aquamanalus takes this surprisingly well. He goes back to the ship and gets over his broken heart the only way that he knows how. By fishing! The party sets off.
That was
He's
a
like-
wild ride. Oh my god, has it been almost 2 hours?
Yeah. But,
Wow.
like,
We got
that was-
sidetracked.
little bit.
Now for the
This is
horror
fun,
part.
though.
You see, Blasphemy knows the rod he wants is hidden in the basement of a cursed lighthouse, but he doesn't know where that lighthouse is. He refuses to buy a map or do any research on the lighthouse, and instead uses the tried and true method of sailing around in circles hoping he finds something. He also refuses to hire a crew for the ship. Without them, the party doesn't have enough people to effectively run the ship, and everyone is worked to exhaustion doing multiple jobs as the ship moves much slower than it would with a full crew. See, this is why you bring the skeleton hammer. Sure, there'll be thousands of dead seagulls, but you don't have to run the ship.
Speaking of the undead,
Blasphemy could easily create a group of skeletons to run the ship, and that would have been awesome, but he doesn't. He names the one skeleton he has as his first mate and orders it to literally stand in the middle of the deck doing nothing. The party sets sail with enough food and water to last them 3 weeks at sea. After 2 weeks of no progress, some members of the party start to get worried. During these 2 weeks, they also crash multiple times because they can't possibly navigate steer the ship properly with their limited manpower. Dead Dog suggests to Blasphemy that they head to shore to resupply, but Blasphemy insists they press on.
Oh boy. Soon after this, the party sails into a seemingly cursed area where there's no wind. The sea beats down unnaturally hot, and there are no fish for Aquamanalus to catch. This upsets him greatly.
Aquamanalus is not pleased.
Still, Blasphemy will not turn the ship around. In this cursed area, Dead Dog contracts a magical disease. He balks at this and says that because he's a monk, he's immune to all non-magical diseases. This is true, but this is a magical disease, so his immunity apply. He keeps insisting that he's immune to non-magical diseases and even reads it out of the rulebook. I once again explained that the disease is magical. It's not until the 5th or 6th time I explain this that he finally gets it. He then gets angry at Blasphemy for making him get a disease. Yeah, because...
I mean, he's technically not wrong at that point.
Yes, but even so. At this point, the party is starved, overworked, diseased, and running out of water, but Blasphemy still won't turn the ship around, so Dead Dog does the natural thing and starts planning a mutiny.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Dead Dog goes to Balls and Aquamalus and tries to recruit them to join his rebellion. Balls agrees, but Aquamalus stays neutral and keeps fishing. He always stays neutral when the party fights amongst one another and always pretends to be distracted by fishing, even at times like this where there are no fish. While Blasphemy is out of the room, Dead Dog and Bottles plot how they're going to kill him and his skeleton if he doesn't comply. Blasphemy and Dead Dog had fought a few times prior, the shovel incident from Chapter 7, and Blasphemy nearly killed Dead Dog in a mere 2 rounds. So Dead Dog starts assembling what he calls his super weapon. He takes the party's bag of holding and dumps out Bottles' collection of random junk, including, among other things, 3 cloves of garlic, 2 balls of ooze, remains 120 stolen books, and 9 hobgoblin big toes. Don't ask why they had this. He then fills the bag with seawater and declares his weapon complete, and everyone just looks at him in silence.
The next day, he sneaks up behind Blasphemy and dumps the bag of water on him, fully expecting this to kill him. The rest of the party are completely baffled as to why he thinks dumping a bag of seawater on someone would kill them. He then explains his reasoning. This bag of holding contains 1,000 pounds of seawater. He thought that all that water would come out at once. It would be the equivalent of dropping 1,000 pounds of weight on Blasphemy. Now, any idiot would know before that the water would not come out all at once, and then that force would be distributed over an area and therefore will be less than 1,000 pounds. But Dead Dog is a special kind of idiot, one who happens to have gotten a D in high school physics.
Oof.
I explain why this won't work, and he tries to argue with me. He asks how I could possibly know this, but he forgets one very important thing about me. You see, I happen to be an actual hydraulics engineer. In front of him, I perform the actual calculations and find the flow rate and associated force of 1,000 pounds of seawater being dumped out of a bag of holding. I will save you the math, but just know that it's not enough to do a person any harm whatsoever. For reference, 1,000 pounds of water is just under 120 gallons, and my sister once had 1,000 gallons of water dumped on her on her head at a water park at age 10, and it wasn't even enough to knock her down. This was less than an eighth of that, spread over a wider area, and this being dumped on an adult in plate mail instead of a 10-year-old girl. All of this is assuming Dead Dog could somehow open the bag entirely and continue to hold it open. The dimensions of the bag are 2 feet by 4 feet, above the head of a much taller blasphemy. He couldn't do this either, but I let it slide since I already proved it didn't matter.
All right. I've got an idea of how this could have worked. You have bottles or whatever hold his arms like together, like try to keep it from flinging around. Then you bring the bag of holding filled with water over his head, try to get his head into the bag quickly, and then try to tie it shut so he's technically drowning.
That would have worked. Dumping the water on him, though, would not.
It would just piss him off, or maybe cool.
What?
It would just piss him off, or maybe cool him off.
Yeah. You know what would work better? Decanter of endless water.
Oh, yeah, that's a fun item. I got that one of those in my first campaign.
Yeah, open it up, set it to the geyser setting. Geyser produces 30 gallons of water that gushes out in a geyser 30 feet long and 1 foot wide. So basically like a power sprayer. As a bonus action, while holding the decanter, you can aim the geyser at a creature you can see within 30 feet of you. The creature must succeed a DC 13 strength saving throw or take 1d4 bludgeoning damage and fall prone. You're not going to do much damage. Instead of a creature, you could target an object that isn't being worn or carried, and that weighs no more than 200 pounds. The object is either knocked over or pushed up to 15 feet away from you. So what he could have done that probably would have worked better is lure him to the edge of the ship, open up the decanter of endless water, use geyser, and use that to shove him off the ship.
Yeah, basically.
I mean, he probably would have passed the saving throw because Paladin, but better chance. Anyway.
Just say it's a dex throw. It's a dodge.
What makes this worse is that Dead Dog should have known his plan when considering he had tried filling the bag with water before with similar results. That time, he managed to get stuck in a combat where he had no ranged weapons, and he tried to take shelter by hiding in the bag. There's so many things wrong with this plan, but couldn't because it was filled with water.
Living things suffocate in a bag of holding.
They can survive for like 10 minutes, but couldn't because it was filled. But couldn't because
there's no airflow.
But couldn't because it was filled with water, and he proceeded to spend several rounds standing there, slowly emptying the bag as the enemies riddled him with arrows. The thing is, even if he had thought to freeze the water and drop the solid block of ice on Blasphemy, it still wouldn't have done enough damage to kill him. Dead Dog had done meticulous research on the bag of holding and its weight limitations. He could recite word for word from the rulebook from memory, but hadn't thought to actually look up the rules for dropping heavy objects.
The end result is Dead Dog standing behind Blasphemy, gently pouring water on him. Blasphemy is completely oblivious to what Dead Dog was trying to do and just tells him to get back to work. Dead Dog apologizes and runs away. That night, he and Bottles meet up to discuss a new plan to kill Blasphemy and take over the ship. This time, they settle on plan of Bottles using telekinesis to fling Blasphemy off the ship and letting him drown. This likely would have worked if they decided to give Blasphemy a final warning the following day. That day, by pure coincidence, just happened to be the day they arrived at their destination. Not fudge this. They're sailing around in random directions just happened to result in them finding their destination by pure luck, just as the crew was about to murder the captain. They explore the island, almost die a few times, and meet a friendly necromancer, the BBEG, whom Blasphemy makes an evil pact with, as the rest of the party stands by horrified. The necromancer gives them food and water that's definitely safe to consume, and Captain Blasphemy victoriously sails away, the no girls allowed, off into the sunset.
Oh my gosh.
Ow.
Chapter 8, the absurd, anticlimactic, and absolutely crack-brained finale. Welcome to the 8th and final chapter. This one I haven't read yet. This is the only one I hadn't read. Of the story about when I ran a nightmarish D&D campaign for some truly special players. This chapter is about the end of the campaign and the off-the-walls final session that left many things unanswered and one player in deep, deep regret.
Sounds like a successful campaign to me. Haha, I'm kidding.
Oh, God.
This
now
game...
I'm worried about the end of your campaign.
If Ruru dies, she's just gonna be like, Sazerac, bury my gold with me.
You act as though Sazerac won't likely be dead at that point.
Just don't like Kresnik have any.
Don't let Kresnik touch my corpse.
Oh, if anyone's going to die, the first person to die is going to be the tankiest. Or the healer, one of the two.
Or me.
You have a
technically
way
are a
of
healer.
getting yourself killed, like, without me involving, except for last session.
Exactly.
This game had 5 players.
Last session, it wasn't a conscious choice. You kept rolling and having it to suddenly targeted me.
Yeah,
Was that
that
random
was...
chance?
Yeah, it was random chance. And I
The
was
way
like,
he
oh,
said it was random chance. He was like, oops, I'm sorry, it's attacking you now. So
Yeah,
it wasn't intentional.
No, it was not. I was like, oh, okay, they could soak up a bunch of damage, but it kept targeting you, and I'm like, oh, crap.
Ruru didn't even get touched that entire time.
Exactly. That's the whole thing. I mean, my typical thing is I typically have the monster go for the last person that did it damage.
I mean, I did that a couple times. Like, it went after Kresnik a few times
Unless
as well.
her name is Casimir.
But then I just kept rolling, and like it kept getting you, and I was like, oh no.
Okay, there's an in-universe reason for that one, Zane.
You tried to kill my boy. Look at how they massacred my boy.
Yes, a god of Earth, a literal god of Earth, tried to kill the interloper.
Yeah.
And he was stopped by a redneck with a shotgun and a federal agent.
Stopped by a redneck who just so happened to be very determined to remove the mask.
Very angry.
In fact, it was like, fuck, he's gonna try that. I might as well have him roll for. Like, fuck, gonna get upset if I just outright say you fail. So I'll just have him roll for it, but I can't have it be an impossible roll, so I'll set it to where it's above the unaltered max.
Yeet, here's me using a luck point. Haha.
To get a 12.
And
someone else using a help action to make it a 13.
That was a fun session.
That was the whole thing of like, yeah, you're not supposed to have it to where like impossible, like you're not supposed to let someone do what would be an impossible roll, but at the same time, I'm pretty sure if I just said you failed to grab the mask, like someone would have gotten upset.
I would have been upset.
Yeah.
This game had 5 players, but this chapter involves only 2 of them. At this point, everyone's schedules had gotten complicated and people were often too busy to play. One of the players, the slave-owning barbarian Kevin, seemingly dropped off the face of the earth, and nobody in the game has heard from him since. Another one, the hoarder wizard Bottles, would contact us very rarely and never made it to the sessions. The third one, the vengeful monk Dead Dog, had become especially busy and developed a habit of saying he could make it, then canceling at the last minute. That leaves us with the 2 who actually showed up for the last session. Blasphemy the Clown, the lawful evil paladin obsessed with all things necromancy who dresses in a clown suit for no apparent reason. And Aquamanalist, the half-elf ranger who really wants to get with a mermaid.
The final session starts with the party arriving at the capital city, a thriving metropolis where the royal family resides. They have a very unusual mission: to raid two royal vault and steal the collection of magical bags contained within. This deserves an explanation. Recently, the party each had visions of whatever item they desired most and where to find it. I do this by asking each party member what they want most, finding a matching item, and designing an adventure around it. Dead Dog has a weird thing for magic bags, see Chapter 6, so he told me he wanted to possess the world's greatest collection of magic bags. He has a vision of the royal vault and the many magical treasures contained within, including an entire stack to bags. What? Stack 2 bags?
I think it's autocorrect accidentally making of 2. It happens. It does that sometimes.
His new live stream is to rob the vault and steal the bags. The party goes on a massive journey to the capital to accomplish this. Ironically, Dead Dog isn't present this session. They arrive. 2 sessions in a row, he said he would be there, then canceled. In the last session, he does show up. He gets infected with a magical disease, the one from the Chapter 7. When he misses a session, my in-game exclamation is that his disease worsened and he was forced to rest in the cabin. He never shows up to a game after this. There ends up being a months-long time skip in the session he misses. We never established what happened to his character, but Blasphemy and Aquamalis just say he must be dead since he's been sick for months and they have no way to heal him. They leave him behind but go to the capital anyway. When they arrive, Aquamalis questions why they're even going, what they're even doing there. Blasphemy doesn't have an answer and just stands there dumbfounded.
Good lord, these players are stupid.
What are we doing? Shit.
Ever wonder why we're here?
Yeah, I mean, like, what's our place in the universe? No, I mean, why are we here now, guarding this? Oh. Now this is when things go off the rails. Blasphemy actually read the notes I provided about the city and the royal family and gets excited when he finds out that one of the princes has recently died. He devises an elaborate plan to break into the castle, go to the cemetery, dig up the body, and turn it into a zombie. This is completely out of nowhere. Aquamanis asks why he wants to do this and what he could possibly gain from it. His answer? To cause chaos. No rhyme or reason to it. He just wants to create chaos for the sake of creating chaos. This is a problem since he is a lawful evil paladin. Never understood his alignment. The whole time he has played his character, he's acted chaotically, starting fights, attacking random old women, etc.
Oh, jeez.
I'm pretty lenient on alignments, but spreading chaos for the sake of chaos is inherently unlawful act. Since he is a paladin who worships a lawful evil god with a strict code of honor, this would violate his paladin oath and cause him to lose his powers. I explained this to him, and he just ignores me.
Sounds like there's a lot of people just ignoring the DM, and that's stupid. You shouldn't do that. Speaking from experience, I have not paid attention in certain things and almost got one of my characters killed, so yeah. They proceed to climb the castle wall and break into the cemetery. Aquamanis is not at all okay with what they're doing, but he's a super passive person, so he just goes along with it. They make it into the cemetery undetected and see only two people there, a guard and a groundskeeper. It was the middle of the night. You know, out of everyone, Aquamanis seems to be the most reasonable. That's not saying much, but...
Yeah, he had a panic attack over a missing crab.
Yeah. Blasphemy is an expert liar, so he convinces the two that he and Aquamanis are invited guests of the king visiting the gravestone of made-up ancestors. Blasphemy waits for the right moment, then uses magic to give the guard a disease, blinding sickness. The guard is infected with the disease and becomes violently ill, but is crucially not blinded. Blasphemy lies to him and tells the guard to return to the barracks and that he would see to it that another guard is found to replace him. Blasphemy then turns to the groundskeeper. He completely abandons subterfuge and beats the man unconscious with a mace. Aquamanis is horrified because this plan, but he goes with it. Blasphemy then digs up the prince's grave through the use of his adamantine shovel, the one Dead Dog tried to steal in chapter 6.
Oh.
He exhumes the body and turns it into a zombie. He then tells the zombie to sit on the ground.
Okay, is he breaking up for you too, Zane?
Yeah.
Okay,
let me do that again. He exhumes the body and turns it into a zombie. He then tells the zombie to sit on the ground and just leave it there. Was that better?
I mean, you still cut out every other word, but it was better.
Should I read it one more time?
Might as well.
He exhumes the body and turns it into a zombie. He then tells the zombie to sit on the gravestone and just leaves it there.
Also, they said princess earlier.
No, they said prince.
Princes, like...
princess, plural.
Yes. Plural of prince. Yeah, I was
Yes.
a little confused at first, too.
I'm too tired to read.
At this point...
Technically, this is a double up day.
Oh, boy. At this point, Aquamanis is anxious. Blasphemy says he has one more thing left to do and proceeds to bury the groundskeeper alive in the prince's coffin. I'd
like to say I'm surprised.
I'm
not.
I'm not either, but I'm still horrified.
I'm not surprised, you're just kind of disappointed.
He assumes the groundskeeper will dig his way out. Spoiler alert, he doesn't. The two of them leave the castle with Aquamanis seriously questioning choices. You want to go home and rethink your life.
Blasphemy eagerly waits by the window, watching for signs that someone had found the prince's body. He sees a group of guards on high alert marching towards the gate and follows them. He arrives at the castle gate and is stopped by the palace guards. He asks what was going on, and they didn't give him a clear answer, just there's a situation in the castle. Civilians shouldn't get involved. He gets angry at them for not properly acknowledging what he's done and demands to be led to the castle. They draw their weapons and almost attacks them, but instead he runs away. He and Aquamanalis then immediately leave the capital and go on a quest to kill a giant as if nothing had ever happened. During the fight, Blasphemy notices that his paladin powers aren't working and feels like his god is ashamed of him, but thinks nothing of it.
Okay. One, what were you how are you hoping this plan would work? Oh no, some shit's gone down in the castle. Sure, come on inside, Mr. Clown Man. What?
We all float down here.
We all float.
It's funny how the clown named Blasphemous is actually rather blasphemous to his own god. Haha.
Well, I mean, that is why the author named him that.
Dun dun.
After defeating the giant, Blasphemy goes back to the castle to collect the reward. Aquamanalos, perhaps realizing what is about to happen, opts not to join him, saying, hell nah, I ain't going back there. Blasphemy approaches the city gate and notices a line of people in front of the gate with a group of guards checking people as they enter. He sees one of the guards holding a poster comparing pictures on it with people that enter the city. For a very good spot check, he notices the post says wanted for necromancy and murder, with a picture underneath of him. He asks how they could possibly know he was the one they were looking for. This is the point that I remind him that he is wearing he was wearing a clown suit the entire time. He left an eyewitness at the scene and acted very suspiciously to the guards at the castle entrance that happens to be one of the most recognizable people in the entire city.
Oh.
Fuck this.
Frantically, he tears off his clown suit and looks around to see if anyone notices. They do. He sees the guards that start to approach him and tries to run away. Unfortunately for him, he can't get very far in his plate mail that he wore underneath his clown suit.
One more sentence, Llytic.
Oh, whoops. The guards surround him.
And that's it. That's the end. We never played again after this. We simply could not get enough people to come to a session. I certainly wasn't doing another session with just these two after this. When I announced to everyone that the campaign was being suspended indefinitely, Blasphemy's player gets upset because he, and I quote, was so close to conquering the world. He was about to die. I explained to him that he was about to die. He refutes this, and I ask him, given that he was surrounded by a multitude of guards, had lost his powers, and he had left multiple witnesses to his crimes, how he could possibly have evaded capture and execution. He doesn't have an answer. As to conquering the world, he literally had the one skeleton that was his only follower. We try to have a sort of send-off where the players all say what happens to their characters in the end. Aquamanalis takes the party's boat, smashes the skeleton, and dumps it into the ocean, and sails off on his endless quest to find a mermaid to be his bride. Blasphemy tries to say that he conquers the entire world. Zero justification as to how and why he does this. I obviously do not allow this, and he gets burned at the stake. In the heavens, as God looks upon him in shame. We don't ever establish what happens to the others. It was a very disappointing end to a truly ridiculous campaign. We got more stuff to read.
Yep, there's an epilogue.
Epilogue. A few notable events from this campaign that didn't make it into Final Cut for the story because they weren't long enough as bad as the others.
The time the party refused to follow quest and ignored a dying man's pleas for help because it wasn't their problem.
Ruru.
Okay.
Time.
The time the party refused to follow a quest and ignored a dying man.
I said that one.
Okay, sorry. The time the party left Blasphemy to die when they ran away from a fight with a Naga, he swore revenge and proceeded to make a deal with the Naga to hunt down and kill the rest of the party in exchange for the Naga sparing him. The rest of the party metagamed and set up an ambush for him. Blasphemy decided to just not attack them, and the party spent the rest of the campaign with the Naga sending assassins after them. Okay.
I, I.
The time Aqua Manalis climbed a tower in an attempt to sneak up on someone standing on a balcony and throw them off of it. He rolled a natural 1 to do this.
The time Blasphemy spent an entire combat running up a staircase.
I'm sorry. Okay. The time only Aquamanalist showed up for the game, I rewarded him for being the only one to actually show up by giving him a magic bow the next time we played. The rest of the party wouldn't let him have it, insisting he already has a bow, so he doesn't need another. Oh my gosh. The bow was obviously magical and valuable, but they got very upset when he took it because it was a waste of time. I even said that it was his reward for showing up in the previous time. They were legitimately shocked when the bow turned out to be a powerful item. This was the same session where the party looted an entire bookshelf and all. These people!
The time where the party missed a single attack against a construct, declared it was so powerful that it must be a god. The level 2 construct chased him and had the same movement speed as everyone in the party. So they had a Scooby-Doo style chase scene across the entire length of the dungeon.
How? Fuck. I need time to recover from that one. The time the party brought a giant crab into a nobleman's house for detective reasons. And it actually worked.
The time Kevin and Aquamanalist bought a candy store together and spent more time running their candy store than actually playing the game.
I can't blame him for that one. Also, it's my seeing eye crab.
The time the party spent the night on and nearly died on a haunted island full of skeletons because they were sailing around in random directions and didn't realize they were near this cursed island they kept hearing about.
The time Aquamanalos used magic to sense a nearby pit trap and deliberately ran into it anyway. The party proceeded to repeatedly jump into, fall into, get thrown into this pit multiple times each and nearly killed the entire party.
What the hell? The portion of the game where I let the players come up with the names of the towns they went to. I stopped doing this when they journeyed through the towns of Dickfuck and Auschwitz.
Oh my god. Oh my gosh.
Yes, the lovely town of Dickfuck.
Oh man, this party sounds super immature, and I would have killed them a long time ago, not gonna lie.
I would have loved to have been a fly on the wall in that, but again, it's sad to say that I probably would have been the most reasonable person in that party.
Yeah.
And Tom has seen some of the characters I come up with.
Yeah, they're fun though, usually.
Yes, but also often batshit insane just on like a concept level.
I just like making really angry people.
Honestly, Sam, now I'm just thinking back to Drusilla. Is there a crab on the beach? Yes. I grab the crab. Oh, okay. I eat the crab.
I kind of want to go back to that and do a couple one-shots
Same.
every now and then, but with other people just filling in and keeping up with the whole all barbarian party thing.
Oh gosh. More barbarians.
I mean, you also mentioned that at some point you want to have it to where there's an all lizard man party.
Yeah, that'd be a lot of fun.
Oh god, that'd be perfect for the monk.
Yeah, I would run probably a one-shot and make y'all be like level 6 or 7 for that, so...
I'm just imagining, like, even the other lizard men are like, dude, chill. Just goes in acting like a fucking crocodile. Dude, calm down. Currently rolling around with someone in his jaws.
I'd make a lizard with really low intelligence and wisdom, but insist on making them a wizard, and then just try to whack people with my staff.
That'd be great. Anyway, we've kept these lovely people here long enough.
Yep.
Props to you if you stuck around to the end.
Yeah, props to you. Props to Professor Tyler.
Professor Utonium.
I holy shit. A special thank you to Destiny Baird. If you would like to get a shout out, either audibly or visually, feel free to donate to our Patreon, link in the description.